and quickly get your members and team members to get on board the call right now if they haven't already. Okay, and very, very warm welcome to all of you from all over the world, my Blue family. All right, I'm excited for you guys as well as for myself because today we have a heavyweight champion in the house, our top producer, top income earner of the company, and he is none other than our greatest mentor, Matt Morris, right? Triple IMD, $1 million ring earner, and 8 times best-selling author of the book, The Unemployed Millionaire. I'm Eugene. I'm your host for tonight, and I'm an RMD from Singapore, and really, really happy to see all of you logging in from all over the world. I can see people from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, right? If you are from Europe, please raise your hands, right? You can do a hand raise here. Okay, if you're from Africa, raise your hands as well. Same goes for Asia, right? In fact, right now I'm on a Cambodia dream break, right, with my team. My whole team, we have a bunch of members here. We have booked out the whole dream break, and it's all a private trip for us right now. You know, isn't this a joy to do? This business is actually a real joy to do because we can do it from anywhere in the world. Okay, so without further ado, I think Matt is on the call. Okay, let's see if Matt is ready. Matt, are you on the call right now? Okay, let's wait for him for a little while. Okay, once again, a warm welcome to everyone. I can see more and more people coming in. And I know some of you are having a foot massage as you see this right now. I know some of you are actually grouping together in a home to watch this from wherever you are, right? Okay, let me just double check with Matt if he's ready. Okay, we are gonna prepare Matt to be a panelist. Okay, we still have a couple of minutes before we can get started. So get your friends quickly on board, right? Get them into the call. There's still time to hurry. Okay, wow. I'm looking at the list of participants right now, and it's so amazing and fascinating to see people from all over the world coming into this call. Okay, and we have Matt on the line.
All right,
Matt,
I got unmuted.
thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
Matt is actually nursing his daughter who's ill right now, and he has taken time out to see this with us, share this with us. And over to you, Matt. Thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome. So excited to be with you guys. Yeah, my daughter woke up in the middle of the night. She was a little bit sick yesterday, and she woke up in the middle of the night with a fever. So the flu is going around here in Texas, it seems.
Okay, I hope it's nothing serious. Not too serious, yeah? Okay, great.
She'll be good.
Okay, thank you for having your time with us. We're gonna borrow Daddy for a while, and really, really grateful to you for taking time out. I know it's 8:30 a.m. in where you are right now in Dallas. So to start off,
I'm always up at this time. When before kids, I was always the network marketing was perfect because I could sleep in, and
right.
With kids though, I've become a morning person.
Awesome. Yeah, we always see your recordings on your Facebook page as well. Thanks for all the nuggets you've passed to us. So I'll just kickstart this right now, if you're cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so yeah. So in line with the e-poster we sent out to everybody, the blast out, and of course with the current situation, we have been seeing news all over the world about the virus going on, about the businesses and stocks going down, right? Business being affected in the recent business climate. What do you suggest we see, right, on how we can take the current situation and see the good in it, as well as taking advantage of it?
Yeah, I in seeing the good in it, it reminds me of like what I always think of is a situation when I was 21 years old. I had a guy that was just a huge inspiration. It was a guy who was actually in my downline. And he was a little bit of an older gentleman. He was probably 65 or so. And, you know, when I was 21, that seemed like much, much older. And he had cancer, and he did chemo treatments. I believe it was twice a week, if I remember. And what was crazy was he would always show up, even after he would have, like, he would do a chemo treatment that morning, and he would show up. Now, he had lost his hair. He was clearly, you know, not the healthiest guy. You know, you could just tell from seeing him, but his spirit was healthier than almost anyone I knew. And, you know, I was just so shocked. Like, it literally gives me goosebumps thinking about this now, because, you know, he would show up and I'd say, man, why don't you stay in and why don't you rest? And he said something I'll never forget. He said, I can choose to live or I can choose to die. And he said it another way as well. It was like, I can let this kill me, or I can make the best of it, kind of thing. And I wish I remembered the exact, you know, wordings that he said along with that, the whole sentence. I wish I had recorded it. But you know, his whole thing was, you know, he was dealt a hand of cards that obviously wasn't the best hand. And, you know, that kind of reminds me of a saying. It's play the hand that you were dealt as if it were the hand that you wanted. And, you know, if you look at poker players as an example, you know, the hand really doesn't matter. In the long run, the hand doesn't matter. It's all about how you play the hand. And what happens, you know, what I've seen happen over my 25-year career in network marketing is you're not always dealt the best hand. You're really not. I mean, sometimes if I look at, you know, my phases over the last 25 years, there's been lots of ups and downs, tons of ups and downs. And you can look at the downs as a bad hand, right? And the coronavirus is an example. It's, you know, you can't say, all right, this is someone's fault. It's just a hand that we were dealt. And obviously in Asia, my heart goes out to specifically, you know, in China and some of the other areas where it's really prevalent. You know, my heart goes out to everyone. And I think what we have to do is we have to realize that this is a hand that was dealt, and it's obviously not the best hand. Let's just be honest. I'm not going to say, like, one of the things that I do personally is when I have things that happen to me and I look at it and, you know, they're a perceived negative, I just try to find the blessing in it. You know, there's some blessing in this. And I'm not going to say that coronavirus is a blessing. I'm just, you know, I mean, some things I'm not going to say are a blessing, but here's the blessing. The blessing is how you respond to any situation. You don't necessarily have to be grateful for the coronavirus, but you can be grateful for your ability to respond to the coronavirus. And, you know, I just think about over all the years, I've been dealt a lot of hands. And whenever I'm dealt a bad hand, the reason why I always have ended up on top over the last, you know, it's been now, I think, 20 years that I've been a top earner in network marketing. I've been the #1 earner in 3 different companies, and it's definitely not me. I have been very, very blessed to find a lot of leaders in my organization who are way better than me. I've just worked very hard to find those leaders. And so, you know, it's one of those things where Jim Rohn said, you know, what you lack in skill, you make up for in numbers. And that's always been my go-to, because I've never been the best at anything. I've never been the best inviter, the best presenter, the best trainer. There's always someone who's better than me. And if I know that, then I know it doesn't matter if they're better than me, because what I lack in skill, I'll make up for in effort. And it's going to be the same thing here. The way I play any hand that's not a great hand, what I lack in the hand that I'm holding, I make up for in work ethic, and I make up for in numbers. And so when negative hands are dealt, number one, work extra hard. And there's a couple concepts that really come to mind here. Is one, it's capturing market share. When things are tough, when things are tough, realize they're always going to get better, right? So the coronavirus is going to go away. There's going to be a vaccination for it. I mean, it's going to go away. There was years ago, we had SARS, and there's something, but it always gets better, right? And so we got to know, obviously, it's going to get better. So one of the reasons why I think I've finished, consistently finished on top is for a couple reasons. One is when things are rough and I know they're getting better, I have the ability to go out and capture market share when everyone else is using that bad hand as a reason not to go work, not to go build. And so there are going to be a lot of people who say, oh, you know what? I've got a bad hand right now. I'm not going to play. I'm just going to fold, and I'm not going to play the game at all for a while. And what happens is all the people who are not playing their hands and they're waiting, all the people who are still in the game playing, we're capturing market share. We're capturing market share. We're capturing market share. And as we teach this philosophy to our team, there's another even more powerful thing that happens aside from capturing market share. And capturing market share is a big deal, but there's something more important. While I'm building when things are rough, I'm building a strong team. I'm building a tough team who can build through the good times and the bad times, right? Because there's going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be ups and downs, right? And so those are two of the most important reasons to work when the hand you're dealt isn't the best, is because you capture market share and you build an incredibly solid, powerful, strong team. Now, the other thing is, and there's different ways to do this, and I'll just give you an example. When I came into World Ventures, it was 2009. And the end of 2008 was the beginning of the Great Recession in the US. Okay. Stock market had the biggest crash of all time. People lost, more than half their wealth overnight. I mean, just gone overnight within a matter of days. I know I was in the stock market. I didn't have that much money in the stock market, but I lost $100,000 like in 2 days. It was crazy, right? And so there was massive fear. It was a negative hand that was being dealt. And so I'm coming into World Ventures and everyone's saying, oh, people aren't traveling. The recession is going on. And I got reminded, and I do this, I think of this all the time. I mean, I probably think of this story at least once a month. And it is the story, the meaning behind the story I'm about to tell you is basically whatever the objection is for people, that's the reason why they need to do it. There's always a reason, a positive behind the negative reason, right? And this is a lot of objection handling, but it's also kind of an overarching way that you present things. And so this was when I was 21. I was living out of my car. I had failed in network marketing terribly. This was, in fact, after the guy in my organization who had cancer. I had like a handful of people on my team. He was one of them, right? And didn't work out. And so I ended up having to take a job. And I took this job selling swimming pools in Southern Louisiana. Some of you know my story. I was showering, bathing in gas station bathrooms, showered in the church parking lot one night. And I would spend most of my days, I would just spend like reading a book. I would sit literally at McDonald's and places like that. So one day I'm sitting in McDonald's. I don't have an appointment for like 6 hours. So I'm just killing time, right? I don't have a home. So I'd go to McDonald's and I'd sit there and read. So I'm sitting there and there's no one in McDonald's other than these two girls who are sitting off right to the side of me. So I'm in a booth, I'm reading my book and just reading away. And I see this car pull up, not a nice car at all, but this guy gets out of his car and he comes in. Now he's got like a little kind of like a mini briefcase kind of thing. And he walks in, and he walks right past me, and he walks straight up to these girls, and he said, "Hey, what kind of perfume do you girls like?" And the girl says, I don't remember what it was. Let's say Chanel, right? She says Chanel. And so he opens up his little case and he says, "Awesome. Well, I have the same scent of Chanel, but it's something," like he starts into his pitch about his perfume that he's selling. They're like knockoff perfumes. It's a direct selling company, actually. I found out later. So anyway, so he shows her this bottle, and it's like $25 or whatever it was, you know? And she immediately says, I don't have the money. And he, without hesitation, he said, "That's exactly why you should get this, because this is a concentrated version. Normally this bottle would cost you $80, but because ours is concentrated, you can use half as much. It lasts you 4 times longer than a normal one. So this will save you the equivalent of like $100 or something," right? And she's like, "Okay." And she bought it. Right. And I just remember thinking, man, this guy's good. He gave an objection, and her objection was exactly why he presented that she needed to buy it. And I just remember when he turned around, he looked at me, he gave me a wink. It was kind of like he knew I was the salesperson too. And it was kind of like that, you know, I got him kind of deal, right? And he walks out, he gets in his car, and he drives away. And it was so powerful. And I've used that so many times over the years. You know, when someone doesn't have the time to join World Ventures, that's why they need to do it. If someone doesn't have the money, that's why they need to do it, right? And so I've used his example for objection handling now for, gosh, it's been over 20 years. Crazy. So when I came into World Ventures, the overarching theme in the US was doom and gloom, and it's the worst time to start a business because the stock market has crashed and all this. And in World Ventures sales had actually gone down a little bit when I joined, because the recession had everyone freaked out. And I just remember thinking, you know what? I got to use his advice. What can I do? How can I present that as a positive? So what we did is we did beat the recession parties. So beat the recession parties. And that became our presentation, was all about beat the recession. This is why you should come. It's why you should join. It's why you'll have success with this. And it's not ignoring what's going on. It's bringing it up. I mean, one of the things that I'm a big fan of is, like, if I know people have objections, I'm going to bring up the objection and answer it in the presentation. And so that's what I did in World Ventures. And that's exactly how I launched my business. And even though everyone's like doing doom and gloom, I'm saying this is exactly why we're going to have more success. And, you know, if I go back, I mean, I just think of the blessing that we have today with Zoom. I mean, what we're doing right now is such a blessing for us, because when I built my first organization of 10,000 people, there was no Zoom. There was no webinars. There was no FaceTime. There was no Skype. I mean, there really no social media back then. If you wanted to communicate with your team, there was no texting. Can you imagine building an organization, no WhatsApp, no texting? So if you wanted to get a message to your team, you had to call people, all right? Because there was no texting. So I built a team of 10,000 people, and it was all over the phone or in person. Today, we can do presentations on Zoom. I know you guys are doing that. I know you're utilizing it. And, it's like, I just think of the incredible blessing that we have now with technology, and combine that with the incredible blessing of our product. The fact that you guys are doing a training while you're on vacation, while you're doing a dream break. I mean, we've got an absolutely amazing thing. So here's one of the things that what I'm looking at, what I'm doing is I'm going to talk to more people. Like if I'm in Asia, as an example, I'm going to talk to more people. Obviously, I believe you should go slow to go fast, ideally. That means rather than just presenting on Zoom, get together with someone face-to-face, belly to belly. If people are fearful about doing that, get on Zoom. And instead of taking an hour, 2 hours to go drive across town, meet with someone, present, drive back, and it's a 2-hour process. You can present to 6 people on Zoom or 10 people on Zoom. And so I think we use this as an opportunity to talk to more people. And even if our sign-up ratio is not as high as it would be belly to belly, the fact that we can talk to 4, 5, 6 times more people, we'll end up enrolling more people and building bigger teams because we're just talking to more people. So, I mean, that's a long answer to your question. I mean, I think about when 9/11 happened, so, when the 2 Twin Towers crashed, I was in travel and network marketing. I was in a travel company back then. And I will tell you, my sales went, and this is probably true of any network marketing company, but especially in travel, they literally shut down every airport. There was no airline travel in the United States.
Wow.
It was all shut down. And my sales, I had just got to $1,000 a week. And It was the biggest success I'd ever had in network marketing. I'm at $1,000 a week. My team is starting to go. And I went from like however many sales are coming in a day to 0 sales, like literally 0 sales that day. The next day, 0 sales. The next day, 1 sale. I mean, it was like very, very hard. And I just remember it's like, I can take this hand and I can not play at all, or I can build when it's tough. I can tell people, look, the travel ban is going to be lifted. Everyone's going to be traveling. It's the biggest industry in the world. I remember saying this. Because obviously after a few days, the ban got lifted and people are traveling again. But travel was down. And I remember saying, look, travel's the biggest industry in the world. If travel, let's say half the people aren't traveling. Let's say it goes from 7 billion at the time. And if it went to 3.5 billion, it's still the biggest industry in the world.
Yeah.
Even if it got cut in half, and it's not being cut in half. So, I mean, we got to look at the positive versus the negative. And here's what happened. Because I built when it was tough, and I trained my team to build when it was tough, and to go out and capture market share when it was tough, by January, I was earning $10,000 a week.
Wow.
I worked like crazy. I worked like a madman, and I trained my team to work like madmen and madwomen, right? And what ended up happening is we created a massive wave, and I don't think that our wave would have been as big had we not worked when it was really hard.
Yep, absolutely. Travel is evergreen, and wow, that is really inspiring. Matt, you really took the situation and turned it around, and I believe we can do so this time as well, all of us. Thanks for that message. Thanks for the sharing. We love it.
Absolutely,
okay,
brother. Yeah.
I'm getting messages on the other phone right now from all those who are tuned in. Okay, and the second question. So in every business, there's ups and downs. I think you mentioned it just now. How do we overcome adversity? Take it right on, head on, and then use the objections back as the reasons why they should be in, right?
You got it. I mean, that is the reality, is every business has ups and downs. Now, I think a lot of this is just education, because not everyone is a business person. Not everyone is an entrepreneur. Not everyone understands business. So our job as leaders is to have people understand that all businesses have ups and downs. I mean, you think about what is a company that's been around for any length of time, a publicly traded company that's been around for any length of time, and their stock has never dipped.
Yep, that's right.
There's no company that's been around for any length of time where their stock has just consistently gone up all the time, right? Yep. It's never happened. So if you look at the stock market, like you go to the stock market and you look at it, how does the curve go? It goes up and then down and then up and then down and then up and then, but what happens over time is it goes from here to here, but it doesn't go in a straight line. It reminds me of the viral image online is like what people think success is supposed to look like, and it's a straight line, and what success actually looks like, and it's like looping around everywhere. down here, and then you end up here. Well, that's the way every business is.
Yep.
And so we got to realize that it's all part of the game. If you look
Yep.
at Apple as an example, Apple's their valuation at one point was $1 trillion. I don't know if it still is, because they have ups and downs, right? Well, at one point, Apple was having to sell off copier machines and furniture and offices and all that to stay in business, because they had had such a major crash. And so all companies go through these ups and downs, and that's just business. And so you can look at this, oh no, the stock market is down, or the coronavirus is here. And you can say, all right, I'm not going to play anymore. I'm going to use that as a reason to just stay home and do nothing. Well, that's not what any business person would do. Like if all this companies, all the owners and the CEOs of the publicly traded companies, if they all just quit and went home when their stock dipped, there'd be no companies in the stock market. There wouldn't be anyone in the stock market if people thought that way. So thankfully, the CEOs of these companies, they think like business people. The leaders in World Ventures, we think like business people. And it's our job to educate our organization to think like business people. And so one of the concepts that I've talked about for years is I call it the valley of death. And really, it shouldn't be the valley of death. It should just be a valley. But people think it's the valley of death, and it causes them to die. And so in some cases, because they don't understand that the way out of every dip is just to go talk to more people. So over my career, like I look at even my career in World Ventures, I hit marketing director. I had 440 people on my team. And then my top person went and joined another network marketing company and pulled a bunch of people away.
Oh.
And I went from 440 to about 220. So I was a marketing director. And then all of a sudden, within a matter of 3 weeks, I was a director at 220, 440 to 220. Now, I knew this concept. A lot of people, had that happened, they would be so disheartened that they lost 220 people in their organization that they just would have quit. They would have used that as an excuse to not build. Well, thank goodness I understood that was just a valley. It was only the valley of death if I made it the valley of death. And the way to get out of any valley is just keep talking to people. So what did I do? I just kept sponsoring people. I just kept sponsoring people and sponsored people and sponsored people and sponsored people. And today, that organization where I continued to sponsor tens of thousands of people. That organization is a massive team all over the world. And it wouldn't have been if I had just let that be a reason to let it stop me. And so here's the thing. There's going to be obstacles that get in the way. And that's by design. It's by design, right? I mean, think about this. Wayne Nugent, if it were just super easy and no one ever quit and there were never any challenges and everyone you showed it to joined, then would he have any incentive to pay us a fortune if it were really easy? He'd have no incentive. Like, he'd pay out 5 or 10%, because if anyone could do it, if it were super easy and no obstacles, no challenges, there'd be no opportunity. So the reason why we have this massive opportunity is because there are challenges. Wayne Nugent is going to pay us 50% of company revenues, of membership revenues, approximately. Maybe it's 50, 60, I don't know what it is exactly, but he pays us 50, 60%, let's say, because it's hard, because he knows if he only paid us 5%, there wouldn't be enough money to go out and build and overcome the challenges. So rather than look at the challenges and say, oh, poor me, it's so hard, rather than complain about it being hard, be grateful that it's hard, because if it weren't hard, there'd be no opportunity. So the opportunity is in the challenge. The challenge is the opportunity, right? So whenever challenges come up, I just think, well, thank goodness there's challenges, because if there weren't, there'd be no opportunity. I wouldn't be able to make over $1 million a year. I wouldn't be able to have this incredible lifestyle. I wouldn't be able to travel all around the world and do what I do if there weren't challenges. So I just think it's a different way of looking at things. I mean, I think you just have to look at things differently in order to really make it as a business person.
Thank you so much, man. Yep. The challenge is the opportunity. That's my takeaway from that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And yeah. Okay. Third question. This is a personal question, but it's awesome. Have you ever thought of quitting? And when you did, how do you get back to the game?
In the last 25 years, I've thought about quitting 1,000 times. And I've heard people say, I never thought about quitting. Right. And maybe they really didn't. I don't know. But what I find is the way most people are wired is we're just wired to, like, that's our trigger emotion. The trigger emotion is when things are difficult to just quit, to not take on the challenge. And I think you've got to discipline yourself to not have that trigger response. I think it's a matter of emotional power. And I think there's a few different ways of looking at it. I mean, when I've wanted to quit over all the years, I've got to remember why I started. Like, why did I get in network marketing in the first place? Remember why you're doing it. Like, why did I commit to doing this? What is the reason behind it? And that's one of the reasons why I think I've been able to persevere, is I've always been able to go back and focus on the reason why. And even in World Ventures, even over the last 10 years, 11 years that I've been in World Ventures, there's been times in World Ventures where I've wanted to quit because things are challenging, right? And I got to go back to, I remember talking with one of my leaders one day, and it was like an IMD on my team. And he had had lots of challenges in his business, and he was really frustrated. And I just remember walking him through this, and I took him back to, I was actually, what he didn't know is, as I was training him, mentoring him, I was mentoring myself as well. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I love to train, is when I'm training others, I'm also training myself. So what I did is I was like, hey, why did you join World Ventures specifically in the first place? And he's like, oh, because I had been in nutritional MLMs and skincare MLMs, and I just wasn't passionate about it. And I was like, all right, so listen, were there challenges in the companies you were in before? Yeah, there were lots of challenges. And I'm like, so basically there's going to be challenges in any company that you're in. But you chose World Ventures because you love travel, and that's the lifestyle you really want to live. So my question to you is, there's going to be challenges anywhere. Would you rather go get a job and deal with all those challenges? Would you rather join a nutrition or skincare MLM again and deal with the challenges with those products? Or would you rather deal with the challenges of the biggest dream in the world is to go see the world and have that as your product? And he's like, oh yeah. Okay. So it's really putting things into perspective. So there was another IMD, and he admits to this, but I still won't say his name. When he joined World Ventures, he was not making much money. I mean, he was making like $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Didn't have a high-end job, had like a very basic kind of, job, like not an executive, nothing like that. Worked in the food service industry, and he got up to about $40,000 a month. And then there was lots of challenges on his teams. Like, I mean, one thing that we do as leaders is we deal with challenges. The reason why you're a great leader is because you can deal with challenges and not let it sabotage you emotionally. And he almost got knocked out of the game. He was ready to quit. He was wanting to sell his business. He was wanting to get out. And he's making $40,000 a month. And this is what's crazy, is we forget how blessed we really are. And again, it's putting things into perspective. And he had to really look at it like, oh my gosh, I used to be making $2,000, $3,000 a month. Now I'm making $40,000 a month. I don't have to go to a job. I'm complaining about these challenges, but in reality, my lifestyle is amazing.
Yeah.
So it is important to have emotional power. And so this is important stuff here. Your feelings follow your thoughts. Your thoughts are what you focus on. And there's going to be times where you have to realign your thoughts about what's happening. So something is happening and you ask yourself, well, what does this mean? What am I going to make it mean? And so I've had lots of negative things happen in my life, and I've let them sabotage me emotionally because I created a negative meaning based on that experience. So what someone told me years ago that I thought was really powerful is an experience in itself doesn't have any meaning. We have to invent the meaning based on every experience. So someone quits your organization that you thought was going to go IMD. Well, that's not a negative or a positive. It's just an experience. You put a meaning on the experience. We're meaning-making machines. We instantly have triggers in our mind that create meaning based on experiences, right? And so here's where power comes from. Emotional power specifically is when you decide what the meaning is based on the experience. You don't just allow the trigger emotion that comes up to create your meaning. You create the meaning and you focus on that. So it's a matter of what a meaning do you put on this? Well, I have to decide to do it and not allow the trigger to create the meaning. So what's a powerful meaning I can associate with this experience? That's where emotional power comes from. And so it's focusing on what you're grateful for versus what you're not grateful for. Focusing on who do I want to be versus being a ping pong ball in the ocean. See, if you let your trigger emotions control you, you're a ping pong ball in the ocean. You just float around. You have no power to guide you to where you want to be because you let your trigger emotions guide you. So you got to just step up and make a choice. And the choice is saying, I choose the meaning. And this is who I'm going to be. I'm going to control my force. And so always remember, we have the power to control our feelings based on what we're focused on. Okay? So I have negative things like my kids get sick and there's just things that come up. And so I can choose to say, oh, poor me, this happened. Or I can say, you know what, I'm going to be powerful and I'm going to be grateful that I'm alive. I'm going to be grateful that I have children. I'm going to be grateful that I'm, have this amazing opportunity. And that's what I'm going to focus on. And if I focus on those thoughts over and over and over, it produces better feelings of motivation, feelings of gratitude, feelings of certainty, feelings of confidence. I can control those feelings based on what I focus on most of the time. And I still have the triggers. I still have these things that come in and it's like something happens and my trigger happens and then I have to correct myself. And I say, no, I got to be disciplined in what I'm choosing to believe and what I'm choosing to have this mean. And I'm going to be disciplined in my thoughts in this case, which is going to control. So most of the time I end up doing pretty good. But again, I've got to constantly correct myself. So that's one. The second thing is this: activity creates positive emotions. Okay. So what happens is if people are kind of down and they're negative, I'm like, well, when's the last time how long has it been since you've done 5 presentations? And they're like, oh, I haven't done 5 presentations in the last 3 weeks. And I go, that's why you're feeling down, because you're not taking action. If you'll push yourself to go take action, go do 5 presentations in the next 24 to 48 hours, I guarantee you, you're going to be way more excited, because when you're presenting World Ventures to someone else, you're presenting World Ventures to you. When you're selling someone else on something, you're selling yourself. That's why I love doing trainings, because whenever I do a training like this, guess what? The rest of the day, I'm going to be more excited because I've been training you guys on how to be excited. So I know that my emotions, my motivation when it comes to World Ventures is based on how many presentations and how many trainings am I doing. If I'm not doing many presentations and I'm not doing many trainings, my motivation is going to be lower. If I'm doing more, my motivation is higher. So you keep yourself disciplined to keep yourself into action. Always stay in action. And what happens is your motivation stays up. When you dip down, you don't do a presentation for a few days, your motivation is lower. So I want to control my emotions so I control my activity. I have control over both, but I can control my emotions even more when I control my activity.
That is so powerful. Thank you, Matt. This is amazing. Yeah, really emotion control and activities, right? These two, we got to get it aligned. And yeah, that is a very powerful message. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for that.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay. The next question. Like during this COVID-19 season, our presentations are done mostly on Zoom, right? So with the spare amount of time we have, saving from traveling here and there to meet our friends, what do you recommend us to do for personal development? What are the go-to materials and media you would go to?
So, I mean, my go-to is Ignition. So we've got, there's lots of great books out there, and you should read John Maxwell's leadership books. There's The Magic of Thinking Big. There's all those books you should read for sure, right? But I'm a big fan of specialized knowledge. So when I decided to go pro in network marketing, I got laid off from a software company. I had been working out for a couple years, and I had always, network marketing was like, yeah, it's cool, but I didn't really look at it as a profession. And so when I got laid off from the software company, I took a couple months and I didn't do anything. And I just literally would read books, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And what I came to, in that couple month time frame was I want to be professional in network marketing. I want to make that my career. And so I decided to, at the time I wasn't even in a network marketing company. I had to go find a network marketing company to join. But I started reading books specific to network marketing. And that's great. There's lots of great books that are specific to network marketing, but there's even better. There is training that's specific to World Ventures within network marketing. And so if you want to crush it in network marketing, and specifically crush it in World Ventures, the best way to do that is to get World Ventures training. And so we have Ignition. There's been Ignition 1 and we have Ignition 2 right now. And within Ignition 2, I mean, you got training from Mark Aceta, Sachin Govender, Julio Acosta, Dan Stamen. Dan Stamen, who was our original CEO and, still a major equity holder in World Ventures. I just talked to him the other day. I mean, Dan has 40 years experience in network marketing. And he is you talk to guys who've been around network marketing for 30, 40 years, Dan Stamen is hugely respected because he's been around forever. He had 660,000 customers, was the organization that he sold to come do World Ventures in a legal, prepaid legal, I think it's called Legal Shield now, right? And so you have training from him. So you have Troy Brown, you have me on there. You've got the best of the best within World Ventures, within Ignition. So if you've bought Ignition, go listen to the audios, download the audios, they're gold. And if you haven't bought Ignition, buy Ignition. It's $100, $99 to get Ignition. And you get all of this training that's specialized training for World Ventures. And I look at it like, man, $100 for all of these. If you went and bought, I forget how many are in there. There's 10 or 12 in there. If you went and bought 10 audiobooks, you'd spend a couple $100. Yeah. If you went and bought 10 audiobooks, they're like $15, $20 a piece. I mean, yeah, you'd spend $200-$300. So this, for $100, you're getting specialized training on World Ventures. Now, here's another thing that I had a mentor of mine teach me. And he said, he's not the fan of reading a bunch of different books. He wants to read one book over and over and over till he gets it.
Oh.
And if I think about the books that are the most powerful books I've ever read, if everyone's like, hey, what's your favorite personal development book? Favorite book on leadership? It's books that I've read multiple times.
Yeah.
It's audios that I've listened to multiple times. If someone were to say, what's your favorite network marketing audio? I'd say Jim Rohn's Building Your Network Marketing Business, because I've listened to it 50 times.
Wow.
And by listening to it 50 times, give or take, I know it like I know the back of my hand. I mean, I could recite almost word for word much of what Jim Rohn says in that audio because I've listened to it over and over and over. And so rather than read 100 different books, or let's say 25 different books, read 5 books 5 times, okay? And maybe it's overkill reading it 5 times, but if I think about my favorite books, I've read them multiple times. And, you know, the audios within World Ventures, if I think about like a lot, what I've heard over the years, the people who are like, oh, your audio on this is my favorite, or Eric Grabowski's training on this is my favorite. They've listened to it multiple times. And so that's my advice, is get the ignition and just listen to those over and over and over. Listen to each of them 3, 4, 5 times.
Thank you so much, Matt. So 5 books to read 5 times, get on the ignition kit. And at the same time, I understand that Matt does a lot of journals, note-taking from the materials that you read. So, yeah, he has a separate video on that on his channel, Matt Morris. And, yeah, right, Matt?
You got it. You got it. I think it's How to Read a Book for Maximum Learning, which is crazy. Yeah. That's my most viewed video on YouTube. I think there's like 1 million views on that. It's crazy.
I saw that. It's really amazing. That is a very good video to watch to learn how to get the most out of the book, most value, right? And next question. With the launch of Silver membership, and I can see it's gaining momentum in US as well as in Europe. Just last week, in a few days, you got 3,200 customers join your team. And what's your strategy in promoting Silver and leveraging on it to support the other tiers of membership?
Oh, you just reminded me. I forgot to check what the final count was for the week, because the 3,000, that wasn't the end of the week. That was like on a Wednesday or something. We were averaging 23, I think it was 23 sales an hour. It is crazy what's happened with Silver. It is going absolutely crazy right now. I mean, we literally have growth, not just in 1 or 2 regions, like everywhere in the company, sales are way up. So we got people popping ranks like we haven't had in a long, long time. I mean, it is crazy. It's insane what's happening. So here's the way I look at it is I'm presenting it all. But I'm pushing obviously people to at least do Silver. The cool thing is, like, what I expected to happen was we would sabotage some of the gold, platinum, and titanium sales. So I thought, all right, we're going to have less of those, but we'll have a lot more Silver and it'll make up for it. In reality, we're actually selling more golds, more platinums, and more titaniums than we were before we launched Silver. We're selling more of those. I just talked to Josh last week, and he was saying, yeah, this is what's really amazing. And so, but we're also signing up so many more people than we ever were before who are doing Silver, because there's, number one, people are just doing way more activity. And so I look at it 2 ways. Is I'm going to capture more people, but what's even more important is I'm getting more people to take more action because they believe they're going to have success with it. And so I want to push both of those things. And so I am, when I do the presentation, I go Silver, and then I do gold, platinum, titanium. So I'm showing them all, and I'm definitely highlighting the dream trips, right? The gold, platinum, and titanium. So I'm still getting a lot of people doing platinum, but I'm saying in my presentation, like, I'm a little crazy. Like, I joke around a lot in my presentations, and I say, listen, if you guys don't at least do silver, you're getting slapped before you leave, right? I wouldn't encourage you to say that. You got to have a lot of rapport with the crowd. Like, I'm silly, so I can get away with it. If you're goofy in your presentation and they know you're kidding, then you can say silly things, right? But really, it's like, if you don't at least do that, you're crazy. And again, don't tell people they're crazy, right? But that's the thing, and I'm talking about it. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, you know, the great thing, and this is in the presentation to prospects, I'm saying, you know, the great thing with this is, by, you know, the biggest objections that we ever get are, I don't have the money and I have to think about it. And the only other objection that comes up is, I don't have the time, which isn't even true, because if they say they don't have the time, they wouldn't have had the time to look at it. So no one can say they don't have the time. And listen, no one says I don't have the money and I got to think about it, because you don't have to think about $25. And everyone has $25. So when you get started, you're not going to have to deal with the objections that we used to deal with when, you know, the minimum level used to be $365 to get started. Yeah. Now it's $25. No, you're not going to get the I don't have the money objection. You don't get I have to think about it anymore. So when you get started, you're going to have way more success than we ever had before. It's why we're creating so much momentum now. So what I'm doing is I'm planting seeds in my prospects' minds. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. Yeah, everyone's got $25. Right? And so the only real objection, and I'll say this, the only real objection that anyone can have for not joining is, I hate travel. If you hate travel, this isn't for you. So I'm going to give you a valid reason not to join if you hate travel. How many of you hate travel? By a show of hands. And sometimes I'll get one, right? But very rarely. And so I like, who hates travel? And no one raises their hand, and I say, all right, you're all joining, right? And so I'm just making it fun, but I'm pointing out the fact that we don't deal with these objections anymore. And what happens is people are like, wow, that's true. And so I think what's happening is people are taking more action than they ever did before. Now, you know, if they would have taken if 3 months ago, before we had silver, if people were taking as much action as they're taking now, we would have had way more success back then, but they didn't believe they would have as much success as they'll have now. And so it's so cool seeing people getting in and just getting results. And they're not making big money with the $25 coming in, but they're seeing results, and then we're seeing duplication. And so people are making bigger weekly cycles than they were before, even though we have this product that's only $25. So anyway, I am completely excited about this. I'm excited because it's not a promotion. When we did the 99 pick your product, we had lots of momentum, but it was a short-term promotion. And I look at this and I think, man, this is not a short-term promotion. We've got, the momentum is just building. Every single week, I'm seeing more momentum happen. Like the first week, I think it was like 17 sales an hour. Now we're up to 23 sales an hour. And so we're just creating more success. So more success creates more success. And so, you know, I just think it's a perfect timing for our company. I think we needed to have this product offering as part of, you know, as part of our arsenal, as part of our offering. And I think it's going to be, you know, one of the reasons why we continue to just widen the gap among competition. And, you know, we've already staked our claim as the biggest, most dominant travel company in network marketing. And I think this is just what we needed to take it to the next level.
Yeah, totally grateful for silver. And you're right, Matt. It's like, wow, this is turning every no into a yes, because nobody has dollars. Yeah. And if they don't, that will be the reason why they need it, right? From what you taught us just now.
You got it. I mean, I just think what we've got is better than it's ever been. I'd love to, it's like, so part of me wants to go back and be like, man, I wish we had this in the beginning, but I can't go back in the past. I can only say that everything happened for a reason. And that's just my belief. Everything happens for a greater purpose.
Yep.
And I think everything that's delivered to us is by design. And if you can live your life truly believing, and how you truly believe it is that's what you focus on, and that's what you say to yourself over and over and over. But if you can live your life really believing that everything that happens to us is by design, that it's by destiny, then you're going to be a lot more fulfilled. You're going to be a lot happier. You're going to have a lot more success. And your life is going to be richer and fuller if you believe that whatever is delivered to you is by design.
Yeah, so true. And yeah, thank you so much for this message. Is there any extra message you want to leave for us before we end the call? Because it's just 5 more minutes to end.
Well, I think, I think that's probably a great way to end it is, things are by design. Sometimes coronavirus is an example. It's a very negative thing. But the fact that it's happened, it's by design, and I don't know what spiritual beliefs you have as you're watching this. I never get into religion at all. In fact, I'm not even a very religious guy, but I'm pretty spiritual. And I do believe that everything is by design. I mean, I think that you could call it God, you can call it the universe, but I just think everything happens for a reason. I think there's no coincidences. And sometimes it's hard to believe that and live that way when you have something that can be as devastating or as harmful as something like coronavirus. But I just have to believe that there's a bigger purpose out there, and that things are happening for a reason. And sometimes it's not ours. It's not ours to figure out why. It's just to accept and control in the way that we can control it. And so, you can't control your results all the time, but you can control your actions. And, I realized years ago that sometimes I have to be patient with my results, but I can be impatient with my activity because that I can control. And when I did that for long enough, and I eventually just went through enough numbers and got my skill to a certain point, I also realized I could control my results because I controlled my actions. Wow. And it took a little while, but my skill caught up to my actions. And once I had the ability to have the skill, and I knew I could execute effectively, in essence, I could control my results because I could control my actions. And it's an incredible level of power that I just think everyone needs to realize that you can have. Is no matter how bad you think you may be right now, you're better than you think you are. And your skill will catch up to your actions if you'll keep doing the actions. It's kind of like learning how to ride a bike. When you first started learning how to ride a bike, it was really difficult. You fell off the bike over and over and over. It took a while to find your balance. For some people, it's gonna take a little while to find your balance in network marketing. It took a while for me. And the reason why it took a long time for me is because I wasn't riding my bike enough. I just wasn't willing to fall down enough. If you're just willing to get on and keep going, no matter how many times you fall off, keep getting back on and try again. Keep getting back on and try again. And you're gonna learn how to ride the bike way faster than someone who just tries every once in a while. So don't look as failure. Don't get down on yourself when you fail. Get excited because you're learning how to get mastery. And because I just kept doing it over and over and over, I got mastery. Eugene, you've gotten mastery because you've just done it over and over and over. If I look at the other leaders, I look at Millie and Buffy and Dennis and so many other leaders, the reason why they have mastery is because they just keep going and keep going and keep going. And the more you go, the better you get.
Yep. And you really inspire us. Together with Sachin, you guys crush it all the time. So, yeah.
Thank you, really brother.
Thankful to you, Matt, for taking precious time off to be with us tonight or this morning, wherever you are in the world right now. Yeah.
So, I'm in Dallas. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on. Love you guys, and looking forward to seeing a bunch of you at United in Orlando.
Thank you, Matt. So this call is recorded because we maxed out the capacity. So we'll be uploading this on Vimeo and be sending out the link very soon. So yeah, blast it out to your teams, guys. If they are not able to get on the call, it's fine. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Thanks once again. And for people in Asia, momentum is cancelled because of the situation currently. But like what Matt said, let's take action and get onto the bus, right? And next event up will be in boot camp, which is in July. So your tickets are good for boot camp. Keep on and hold on to your tickets. Right, we'll be opening up sales coming up soon. Thank you, Matt. Thank you once again.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night. Good morning there. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great night or great morning or great afternoon wherever you are. All right, so this call will be recorded and sent out via a link very soon. Thank you very much. See you guys. Let's rock on.